Good afternoon. It's David Celine from Drive, and today we have Denise Ortiz joining us from American Towman Magazine. And we also have John Browski is VP of Towing Industry Programs for Auto Return. And it's quite an honor to have John here, quite decorated kind of person here. He's been Towman of the Year by American Towman. He's received 2 Towman medals for heroism, and he was inducted into the Towing and Recovery Hall of Fame in 2001. So welcome, Denis, and John.
Thank you.
Thanks, David. And a quick correction, it's Denny.
Denny, yes.
It's a strange name. I understand.
No problem. I apologize. So as we're going over here, so let's just take a few minutes here. And Denny, will you tell us about American Towman, what you guys do, how you help tow industry people? You know, we have a lot of auto shops that have towing companies, and I've got a lot of towing companies that we're starting to work with at Drive. So we're helping them consult, run their businesses better, learn how to be businessmen and not just the drivers behind the wheels or the mechanics in the shop. So give us a little bit of history and background on Towman.
Sure. Well, American Towman on the magazine side is the leading publication for the towing and recovery industry. We also refer to it as the emergency road service industry. And we've been publishing now for 46 years. So one of our primary goals has always been to educate the towing populace. Anything critical to running a towing operation is the type of editorial we like to feature. And John Borowski is also our safety editor for the magazine as well. So it is our job to serve the industry by providing kind of an educational resource through the magazine. We also have a hard news website, towindustryweek.com, that we have a tremendous amount of exposure with the towing audience. We also have 3 trade shows we produce for the same audience. The largest one in the world is coming up in 2 weeks, the American Towman Exposition in Baltimore. There we have over 200 suppliers, so it's a great way to come and engage with other people in the industry. We have the largest educational forum in the industry through conferences and seminars, clinics on the show floor. And so people come there to the towers, tow business operators, as well as business owners, come there to get educated, come there to meet with suppliers looking for products and services that are going to help them in their business, as well as networking. It's a key to come together, share ideas, share war stories, because that's how they really learn with this specific, unique industry.
Yes, and we're getting very excited about the Towman Expo that's coming up here in 2 weeks. Drive will be there. We're presenting a couple of workshops, I believe, to help out the tow industry. So now I'm going to kind of move on real quick, Denise, and move over to John. So John, tell us about Auto Return and give us a little history of your background.
Auto Return is kind of, I suppose, the easiest way to have the audience understand what it is if they've never heard of it. We are basically the Uber for tow trucks for municipalities. Is about the best way to do it. What it does, it streamlines the process, creates efficiency, gets that tower and that officer off the road sooner, which obviously saves lives, prevents secondary crashes. And we're in 44 major cities in the U.S. and 2 in Italy right now, Rome and Naples. My history, it's kind of ties right in here with what Denny was just talking about. I've been in the industry since 1971. And when I really realized that I was going to be here for the rest of my life, I always wondered why there was never any kind of a trade show or anything else going on. And I bought whatever there was for a publication. And at the time, there was really not much, but there was American Towman. It had just started out. Steve and his brother had started out in the early 80s. And I followed it all the way through. And then they started to do their first show in 89. And I've been there and I've been here since. I think I've missed 2 shows in all those years. But they have helped me progress my career, my knowledge center of this industry. And I've been trying to give back ever since. I've been presenting for them for, I don't know, over 20 years now.
Okay. Well, so one of the things is Drive, we're very committed to helping the tow operators run a better business. Now, I know there's a lot of things that Towman helps on, helping them how to, run the wreckers, get the equipment, get the tools that they need, the insurances, that's all part of your expo there. And even like John was saying, having services that help them link up with the municipalities and get people off the road quicker and safety. And now Drive, we're focused on how do we get them to be businessmen? How do we get them to watch their P&Ls, run their business off their numbers? How do we increase the profits? That's a big thing. And the other thing is how do we get these operators, how do we get them to have free time? Because it's not the towing world's 24/7, John. And I'm sure if you started back in the 70s in that, you're used to that 7 days a week, 24/7. And even when you did have an employee as you were growing, it took a lot. You were still on call all the time, weren't you?
Absolutely, David. And it's funny you mentioned that, but what is a vacation? That's a tow show, isn't it? That's what it's supposed to be, I believe. That's what it's been my entire life. But no, since I was in the industry and I was so hungry for information, and when I learned everything that I've actually, where I've gone with my life and with my career from American Towman, that I've been trying to do the same thing. I do understand that most of our operators are out there are exactly that. They didn't come into the business because they were good at bookkeeping or business management or anything like that. They were good towers, but they didn't know how to run the front office. And that's where the money's really made. I mean, obviously the good service and the quality of service is very important, but making $1 at the end of the day, and especially in an industry where you commit your entire life, 365 days, 24/7, I mean, you do. And you need to understand what you're doing. And there is a value on that. So every time that I've done my seminars, I've always leaned towards two things, David: safety and profitability.
Yeah, that's another big thing I see with Towman and at the Towman expos and everything. Safety is very big, and we don't think about this too much. You don't think about it when you're driving down the highway, you see a tow truck on the side of the road, but the actual safety that's involved with the drivers today and the people that are out there, it's getting where everybody has to be alert. So I know you guys have the slow down, move over programs that have started through Towman, and there's many other things like that are out there, but there's now safety technology now, billboards that mount to the tow truck. I've seen those at the Towman show. I've seen safety vests that allows the driver to know that, hey, you got something approaching you and you may not see it. There's a lot of technology out there for the safety in the towing industry. But go ahead, John. You look like you were going to say something.
Well, I was just going to say that, David, I hate to even say this, and we're giving this out to the public, but unfortunately, there is an operator lost once every 6 days. In pre-pandemic numbers, these numbers were higher than fire and police combined. And we're not running into fires. We're not pulling out a handgun and defending ourselves. We're out there simply trying to do a service roadside. But unfortunately, there's so many people that are too busy being distracted. Let's leave it at that. And they're hitting people, and it's scary out there. And I have committed myself to the point where I want to try and make everybody aware of how I managed to do the hopscotch out there on a highway for 50 years. And I'm still here with both arms, both legs. I've never been hit, thank God. But it can happen so easy. And that's a major concern.
Well, there's two sides. I'm going to tie this in just a little bit. At Drive, we're teaching them to be better owners, hire the people, get the right staffing in your business so you're not out there working 24/7. And it kind of ties to safety too, because if you're working your guys a lot of hours in the middle of the night, not giving them proper off time, this is where some of those accidents even generate from, is just not being alert or keeping focused on what's really going around you in that system. So
well, that definitely can be a component, David, in terms of, scheduling and allowing people enough time to recharge their batteries, but also critical in the running of any business operation in towing is training the operators to be able to be aware safety wise, knowing the equipment. So that is a key element as well, and part of the back end operations, that you have to have safety meetings. That's what we always recommend, to have training. That's why we have training at the trade shows. That's why we have safety articles and a safety editor in the magazine. as well, and clinics on the show floor showing the safety devices. But in addition to that, it's having the proper boss that knows that those issues are critical, especially in this industry, and are willing to spend the dollars to invest in the training and the education of their operators.
Correct. There's a big piece to it. And we just released, and I know, Denny, you may not have had a chance to see this because we just released it a couple of months ago at our expo at Drive. And I know you had representatives there from Thomann.
Yes.
But we released what we call Playbook, and it's an application. It's a set of softwares that allows you to not only create your policies, but create training plans, training programs, put training documents, videos, anything that you want as far as training into this app. And then you can electronically send it to your employees through email, have them check out to see that it's actually been done, that they comprehend. You can have them send pictures back that they know how to do certain things right, or videos, or write stuff back. And it goes to one of the biggest things we teach at Drive. In order for the shop to be successful, you got to invest in training. First, the training as the owner. The owner's got to be trained. They got to understand business. They got to understand the importance of training and how to set up training plans for their employees. But then they got to have a tool such as our Playbook app to go out there and administer this training and keep track of it. And know that your drivers, hey, they've signed off that I know how to do this right, or they've proved that they know how to do that right.
That sounds very cool. And as John said before, people entering into the industry may not have that business know-how. They come in either for a love to serve the community, assist others. And then, as I think you remarked at one of our shows, David, is you can't run a successful towing operation from behind the driver's seat of a tow truck. You know, you have to have assistance. You have to have a plan. You have to, as you said, in the case of Drive, have a business consultant that will help you, be successful. And that's a very, key component, because to be alert also on the roadways as an operator, and the knowledge and skills you need just for the equipment alone, you want to rest easy that your business is running well and being profitable. And John could speak tremendously on the challenges of being a profitable operation. Trying to get the rates, that you deserve for the services you perform. That's been a challenge since I've been in the industry, and I've been serving the industry now for 25 years with American Thomann. Big challenge.
That's right, David. I mean, as exactly what Denny is saying. I mean, as much as being profitable and maintaining your business is challenging, the costs lately have changed so much. It was hard before when trucks were a heck of a lot cheaper, but now you can plan on, if you can find one and you want to go out and buy a light duty truck, you're going to spend $130,000, $140,000 for a light duty truck. On a heavy duty, you could go anywhere from $500,000 to $1.2 million. You have to be on the ball to be able to understand profit and how to take, and staffing right now has really been another challenge. Everything in this business is a challenge, but it usually does revolve around the dollar. So if you don't have the money coming in, you're not going to make it. I mean, it's a tough business, but boy, I'll tell you, there isn't a more rewarding business than this. You have a short-term relationship with people. You help them out in their situation of depression and breakdown, and you get them through it. And boy, I'll tell you, at the end of the day, it's very rewarding. It truly is.
John, I have one of our viewers watching today. It's Kevin from Stellar's Garage. He's been in the towing business and repair business since 1950. He's probably taken over a family-owned business, but he's looking at it and he says they're dealing with the cost of fuel too. We looked at, you brought up all that, and insurance. I know all this stuff is going up, but here's the thing: is being a smart business owner, when you know what your cost of fuel is, what your cost to your drivers are, you bring up the labor shortage, John, and what we found out, there's a lot of people that could find drivers, but they couldn't hold on to them more than a week, or the guy would show up and work for a couple of days and say, this isn't for me. So how do you interview the right people, get the right people, so you're just not constantly going through it? And we've developed programs at Drive that helps people hire drivers, find drivers, get the right people in there, and they're out there. You just got to know. The biggest thing we've seen was the culture and the pay that you were paying the driver. What was the culture of your business? And I tell everybody, you brought up drivers, you look at somebody that wants to work for you as an employee, You can't say you're on call 24/7 and I'm going to call you out when I want. And hey, you may sit at home for a day and a half before I call you. And then it'll be 2 o'clock in the morning when I call you to go out and do a 2 mile tow. And I'm going to pay you commission.
Yeah, no, it's tough. It's challenging. I mean, we have that holiday coming up here, Thanksgiving, and I got to tell you, I don't ever remember a Thanksgiving that I wasn't falling asleep in the recliner with my boots nearby and had to go out during dinner every single year. You can bank on a drunk driver whacking a tree somewhere. I mean, it's very, very demanding. And obviously at that holiday, it can be extremely dangerous because people are out there enjoying the holiday, and a few libations later, they're behind the wheel, and they're not really very observant of what's going on out there. But yes, the whole business as a whole right now, David, is so much more complex, given because of the amount of the expenses, the issues of trying to maintain drivers. And the whole thing always goes just like the game of Monopoly, return to go. It's always come back to the dollar. You got to be able to make the money, to be able to hire the employee, to retain the employee, to give them the proper benefits program, because it's not just the employee, it's his family you got to help take care of too, because he's supporting his family. So it makes it really tough. This industry really is a great industry, and it takes a lot of knowledge and a lot of effort to stay in it and make a profit at it. And it's very hard to keep people there. So you need to turn around and you need to make it worthwhile for them. And that's where it is. Without our services, the roads would be gridlocked.
And
John, oh, go ahead.
I was going to just say, just like Drive, American Towman is there to help not just raise the bar of professionalism within the industry, but help the tow business survive through business management articles that Drive has contributed to, through our educational programs, our seminars, because it's so key to know how to run the business side of the operation if you're going to even, stay in existence.
John, as somebody that's been in this industry for a while, I ask you this question, and we teach at Drive. The first thing we learn is a lot of these business operators right now, tow operators, and this even goes for repair shops, they run their business off of the checkbook. And what I mean by that is they know how much money's in the checking account, and that determines what gets paid, who gets paid, and when it gets paid. And what we teach at Drive is to start managing every dollar coming in, break it down, put this over to your maintenance and your fuel costs, put this over to your drivers, put this to any taxes, and then you put this amount over into an account for equipment replacement and stuff like that. And when you start dialing in these numbers and you start actually allocating every dollar coming in, then you can get everything paid. And if you have a category like overhead expenses and stuff that you can't get paid, well, that means you need to make more money. So we teach you to turn on your marketing. How do you go get more business? How do you keep everybody busier to meet the demand of what the business needs to make? And of course,
you're spot on, David. And that's exactly, you were describing John Borowski prior to '89, before I went to American Towman. And quite honestly, I learned a lot there, and now I'm out there doing the teaching myself. And that's exactly what it is, David. You need to have some kind of computerization to understand what your costs are. And I can tell you, unfortunately, this industry suffers from a lot of people that really don't know what a tow costs them, and they don't quite get it yet. And now it's at a dangerous tipping point because the expenses are so high. Just one little thing can just upset the apple cart here, and then you got a problem. But American Towman, I don't want to make it sound like an infomercial, but I'm sorry, I have to. They pretty much caused me to go on the path that I'm on. And now I'm trying to pay back to all of them, because it's a rewarding industry, but it's not if you're not making money. It's actually hell if you don't. And it shouldn't be that way. It's a great, great job to do.
And it's funny because we at Drive just got into towing. We've worked with auto shops that's had tow trucks before for years and years and years. But some of our partners like AAA, and then we got connected up with American Towman, and we started really seeing what the demand was for our types of services, of teaching these guys everything on the business side, how to free themselves up, how to not to be in the tow truck, but still own the business and have others dispatching the work, have drivers driving it, and planning your future. That's one of the biggest things I see on business owners. When you can sit down and you can start planning your future and mapping it out, and then setting, how do we attain this and everything else, your business starts to grow, expand, and it starts to thrive. But if you don't have the time to do that planning and write out how are we going to reach these goals and figure that out, it just kind of gets by.
Well, that's the difference of accomplishing it and staying in the industry. You have to learn that. Otherwise, you're not going to survive. If you don't even want to do that, you should probably start thinking about doing something else because you're not going to survive. And you've got a responsibility here for all of your family, your children. If you have them, you need to spend time with them. I know I'm on a second marriage because of my actions in the early part of my business career. And I understand that. And I watch other people struggle with it. And I really hope that if anybody walks away from this broadcast that we're doing, that they understand you need to be profitable in anything that you do. I mean, it's fun and it's nice to help people. But at the end of the day, family and profitability is the most important thing.
Yeah, can't agree on that any more than that. And it's taking care of the business side of it and not letting the business run you. And that's what usually happens is the business runs you, you don't run the business.
Yep.
And there's other pieces to it. You know, it's not just that, because in order to get to that operational stage where you're not out in the tow truck all the day or you're not doing all the dispatching, there's pieces you have to do. Like I said, you have to hire employees, you have to train them. And in many cases for these tow operators, and this goes for auto shops too, you need to be trained on leadership skills, how to communicate, how to lead a team, you know, how to organize a team. There's so many pieces to that right there that can determine the success of a business. If, you know, I've had through my career in the automotive industry, I've worked for tow companies, I worked for auto repair shops, I worked for dealerships. And I'll tell you what, I've been through my share of different bosses and I learned through some of them, but I also had to train myself when I became my owner of a business and had to learn how to manage a team and how to guide them, how to motivate them, how to bring them up, how to inspire them to be a part of the business and take responsibility for their part of the business.
You're absolutely right, David. It's very important to become that leader that everybody looks up to. And it takes quite a bit to try and get yourself to that position. But once you understand what you're doing there, it becomes very easy because you know that you're helping other people. And the long run of it, you're going to have your business running a long time, profitably, not only helping your community, but helping your employees, families progress and actually look forward to more people coming into a wonderful industry.
And with towing too, the towing industry, sorry, David, it's challenging, I'm sure, as I can imagine, you know, because it's a lot of them are family run businesses. And, you know, working with family, I don't know, I myself couldn't do it personally, but there's that challenge. So even bringing in that leadership component to say, you know, you got to be a leader of a team, but you're also your team members are your brothers, your sister, your children. So I'm imagining that's got to be its own unique challenge as well, let alone with just employees that are strictly employees.
Yeah, part of being a good leader is being able, as I say, be able to bite your tongue. When that employee comes up to you and says, I broke this piece of equipment, it's being able to walk out there with them and say, okay, this is what we got to do to fix it. And, you know, do you know why it caused this? Or, hey, can we go through some training and explain why this happened and how it and prevent it to happening next time? But a lot of time in small businesses, the owner right there hears broken equipment, they hear dollar signs, and they don't tend to react as rationally as you should as a leader. As a leader, you know, that one outburst to an employee who may be a good employee that had a mistake could upset everything versus staying calm. Maybe if they tell you you have bad news, you take a walk before you have a conversation with them, calm down and come back. But that's just all part of being a leader. It's part of being the owner. It's part of guiding your business. There's so much to it. And I'm so glad that Drive has been able to partner up with American Towman and like people like John with Auto Return and many other in the towing industry, because there's such a great industry. There's so many people that wear their hearts on their sleeves. As I tell people when I go to American Towman and I'm talking, look, all these drivers and these owners out there, they're heroes. There's somebody's hero every day. There's somebody broken down on the side of the road, whether it be the college kid going off to college or the little old lady that's broke down the side of the road. You're somebody's hero. And what you do is valuable and important and keeps America running. So you are valued. You just got to make sure that you get the return for all that hard work you do.
Absolutely. You couldn't have said it any better though, David. You know, as you're going through all the different steps here, what I did in my mind, I always said to myself, no matter if it was an aggravated customer, if it was an upset employee or an employee that broke something, put yourself in their shoes for a minute and look at the situation and understand it and have a little more understanding before you just plain explode, because you will. I mean, you put up, there is a lot of stress in being an owner, but there's no question about it. There's good people that enter this industry. And sometimes we do have kind of a short temper, but you overcome it and you understand where they're coming from, and you come up with a mutual resolve. And I'll tell you, if you're able to accomplish that, you can maintain some longtime employees. I had some that were 20, 30 years that have worked for me, and it was just very rewarding. Good people, still friends with them today.
Agree on there. So unfortunately, we're coming up on our half-hour mark over here. It's amazing how time flies when you get 3 people on here talking. But you know what? American Toman is their expo's coming up in 2 weeks in Baltimore. If you haven't got a chance, look it up, get set up to go to it. Lots of good people there. Like I know Denise says there's over 200 vendors there. Drive will be there. I know, John, you'll be there. We'll see each other there.
Yep.
Hundreds of tow operators, if not thousands. I think it's usually in the thousands.
It's over 12,000, that
Okay.
come to the show in Baltimore.
Yep.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm always working the drive booth, talking to customers. I've never been able to sit there and count how many, but I know there's a ton of them that come in there. But there's networking. You learn things from fellow tow members. You see what they're doing. You hear what they're doing. You hear the different struggles. You may be able to give some advice to help them. So what a great time to network, opportunities, see how you can grow your business, and look forward to seeing all of you out at American Toman Expo in Baltimore.
Likewise, David.
Look forward to seeing you both.
Okay, well, thank you, Denise and John, for joining us today, and look forward to seeing you in person in a couple of weeks.
All right.
Great.
Take care,
Thank you.
everyone.
Take care.
Thank you.